The first thing to do is, our tails are wonderfully long. We left ourselves plenty of room. Cut off a piece of the end. We are going to sew this in a way where it creates a diagonal seam that will then magically make these join together at the perfect length. Let's say we want the seam to be roughly in the middle of this gap. We're going to fold this piece over. I'm actually going to cut this way down here because we don't need it. So I've laid down this strip in the gap, and I'm laying this strip over the top of it. Now stick with me here. You can always pause and rewatch the video. It's not hard, it just takes a little bit of concentration. The magic of this is that we are going to overlap these two pieces so that they are the exact width of the binding strips you cut. If you remember, our binding strips were 2.5 inches by width of fabric, which is why I've cut that piece off and I unfolded it. We had pressed it in half. So I now know that this is exactly 2.5 inches. There's my gap. So I'm going to slide this right in there because it gives me a perfect 2.5 inch measurement. So my strips are on top of each other. I now know that this is exactly 2.5. Let's cut the top strip to this edge. Okay, throw that to the side. So now my top strip goes here, and I'm going to cut my bottom strip to this edge. So I will move this one out of the way, and I will cut this one to that edge. When I overlap them again, the overlap portion is exactly 2.5 inches. Don't need that anymore. Take your strips aside. They are perfectly cut to make this work when we combine them. You're going to want to take a bunch of clips. So by bunching your gap together, maybe even folding it and clipping it, I'm going to have an easier time of it. Sometimes you have to do a few different clips. I bunched it up so that I've got my ends to work with here. This strip is laying, this is the right side up that continues the way that I was sewing this. So let's call this the right side. I'm going to lay that down like that. This one, here's the right side. If I were to open it up, this is the right side that I was sewing along, but I'm going to flip it to the wrong side, and I'm going to match those up like this. Edge to edge line up. Okay, so technically this is the wrong side, this is the right side, so the right sides are together. I'm going to pin it this way. That will be easier to see like this. No, even stick a wonder clip over there. Try to keep it all together. So there it is. We're going to sew the direction the pin is in from corner to corner, keeping these as aligned as possible. Stick that over there. We'll take the pin out now that I'm in place. Slow down, try to get right on the corner. Cut your thread. Take this clip off, unbunch where the gap was. Now I'm still going to trim it, but ta-da! Did you see that happen? So we bunched this up. We laid right sides together on each seam. We sewed that. We're going to go and trim this, but you can see now when I sort of snap it open, stick it all in there for the moment. Look at that. Where those two strips came together, I simply cut them roughly 1/4 inch to leave a little bit in there. I hand pressed and used my iron as best I could to press that seam open. And when you fold it, it's going to be just like when you put your binding together. There we go. I'll actually overlap a little bit where I ended, just to put my needle down, just to give it a little extra stability. And when I overlap where I started, I'm also going to backstitch. Next up, we glue.